Imagine a dynasty so obsessed with keeping power within its own hands that it married cousin to cousin, uncle to niece, generation after generation, until blood itself became poison. This is the story of Maria Anna of Austria, born in 1634, a woman whose fate was sealed not by choice, but by the ruthless logic of the Habsburgs. She was the daughter of the Austrian branch, and at just 19, she was married off to her cousin King Philip IV of Spain. He was not only her cousin, but also her uncle by relation. In the glittering halls of Madrid, what looked like a royal wedding was in fact the tightening of a noose around the dynasty's future. Welcome to the channel. Here we reveal the shadows behind the crowns. If you're new, don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell, because tonight you will hear a tale so unsettling, so tragic, that it reads like a warning carved in bone. Maria Anna was small, fragile, with the unmistakable Habsburg jaw jutting from her face. Philip IV, too, carried the same mark, the same blood. Their union was not romance, it was strategy. For the Habsburg motto was clear: let others wage wars. You, fortunate Austria, marry. And so they married, until the line twisted upon itself. The result of this marriage was Carlos II. Remember, to understand Maria Anna's fate, we must first understand the dynasty that shaped her, the Habsburgs. For centuries, the House of Habsburg stood at the very heart of European politics. Their empire stretched across Austria, Hungary, the Holy Roman Empire, the Low Countries, and Spain. At their peak, they ruled more land than any other dynasty in Europe. But their greatest weapon was not the sword, it was marriage. The Habsburg motto became infamous: Bella gerent ali, to Felix Austria nubi. Let others wage wars. You, fortunate Austria, marry. Through carefully arranged unions, they avoided battles and instead conquered with weddings. And for a time, it worked. The family gathered crowns like others gathered coins. Yet beneath the triumph lay a dangerous pattern. In their obsession with preserving royal blood, the Habsburgs closed their marriage circle tighter and tighter. Cousins married cousins. Uncles married nieces. Children were born not with diverse blood, but with copies of the same bloodline repeating endlessly. This strategy carried consequences that no amount of gold or land could erase. Scientists today can trace the Habsburg jaw, a severe protrusion of the lower mandible through portraits of the dynasty. Studies of their genealogy show that by the 17th century, the average level of inbreeding among Spanish Habsburgs was equivalent to that of children born to siblings. And so the dynasty's strength became its curse. Outwardly, the Habsburgs projected power, but within, they carried a genetic time bomb. Weakness, deformities, infertility, and early deaths haunted their courts. And Maria Anna, born in 1634, was no exception. Her father was Ferdinand III, Holy Roman Emperor, and her mother Maria Anna of Spain herself, a Habsburg. This made young Maria Anna the product of generations of marriages that mixed the same. Maria Anna of Austria was born into privilege, but her childhood was not the fairy tale one might imagine. As the daughter of Ferdinand III, Holy Roman Emperor, and Maria Anna of Spain, she lived in the glittering courts of Vienna, surrounded by opulence and tradition. Yet beneath the gold and velvet was a destiny already chosen for her. She was not just a child, she was a vessel of blood, a pawn in a dynastic game that had gone on for centuries. From an early age, Maria Anna's appearance betrayed the price of her lineage. Portraits reveal a small-framed girl with the signature Habsburg jaw, lips that jutted awkwardly, and a frail body that seemed too delicate for the weight of her title. Court records describe her as pious, dutiful, but often sickly. Illness followed her, as it did many Habsburg children, but still, she was valuable for her blood was pure, and purity, to the Habsburgs, was worth more than health itself. At 19, Maria Anna's fate was sealed in one of the most infamous marriages in history. She was wed to Philip IV of Spain, her cousin, and in bloodline terms, also her uncle. Philip was much older, nearly twice her age, a king whose reign was already scarred by tragedy and loss. He had buried wives and children before, and he needed a new queen to produce an heir who could secure the fragile Spanish throne. The wedding was a spectacle of wealth. Tapestries lined the halls of Madrid, choirs sang, courtiers whispered. To the outside world, it was a glorious union of Austria and Spain, cementing Habsburg power across Europe. But to those who looked closer, it was something darker. Two faces with the same jaw, two bloodlines already twisted together, binding themselves even tighter. Life at the Spanish court was not easy for Maria Anna. She arrived in a land struggling under the weight of war, debt, and decline. Spain, once the mightiest, when Maria Anna gave birth to her son in 1661, Spain celebrated. The long-awaited male heir had arrived, a child who was meant to secure the continuation of the dynasty. He was christened Carlos II, and from the very beginning, the court proclaimed him a blessing. But behind the golden cradle, shadows were already gathering. Carlos was not a healthy infant. Records tell us he was weak, unable to thrive like other children. His body seemed fragile, his head unusually large, his jaw grotesquely pronounced. He did not walk until he was 4. He could not speak clearly until he was nearly 10. Every milestone was delayed, every year a reminder that the mighty Habsburg bloodline had turned against itself. The Spanish people called him El Hechizado, the Bewitched. Some whispered that he was cursed by witches, others that demons plagued him. But the truth was written in his very bones. Carlos was the result of centuries of inbreeding. He suffered from epileptic fits, digestive problems, and infertility. His lower jaw was so large that his teeth could not meet, making it nearly impossible to chew food. His tongue was oversized, slurring his speech. He was plagued by constant illness, often bedridden for weeks at a time. And yet, this frail, broken child was the king of Spain. Imagine an empire once filled with conquistadors and silver fleets, now ruled by a man who could barely feed himself. Ministers and regents, his mother Maria Anna among them, governed in his name, but Spain was crumbling. The treasury was empty, wars drained its strength, and famine stalked its people. Foreign ambassadors described Carlos in cruel detail. One wrote that he was so ugly as to cause fear, and incapable of any physical or mental exertion. Another remarked that he was always in the hands of his doctors. His reign became a theater of decline, every appearance at court a grotesque reminder of the dynasty's decay. Marriage with the reign of Carlos II was not just the decline of a man, it was the collapse of an empire. And at the heart of that collapse stood Maria Anna of Austria, the mother who had given him life, and the dynasty that had demanded his birth. By the late 17th century, Spain was no longer the titan it had once been. The silver galleons from the Americas arrived less frequently, their treasures drained into endless wars. France, under the brilliant but ruthless Louis XIV, pressed Spain at its borders. The Ottoman Empire threatened from the east. And within, corruption, famine, and despair eroded the foundations of power. But perhaps the greatest enemy of Spain was not foreign, it was genetic. The Spanish Habsburg line had locked itself in a prison of its own making. Centuries of inbreeding had culminated in Carlos II, infertile, sickly, and incapable of producing an heir. Maria Anna, after Philip IV's death, served as regent during her son's minority. She ruled in his name, signing treaties, negotiating with powers, and fighting to preserve what little remained of Spain's influence. But even her regency was riddled with scandal. Courtiers whispered that she relied too heavily on foreign advisors, that she allowed corruption to thrive. The queen, who had been brought as a bride to save the dynasty, became, in the eyes of many, the embodiment of its weakness. Carlos grew older, but never stronger. His reign dragged on like a tragic play, each act more desperate than the last. He sought healing through exorcisms, Through relics of saints, through desperate rituals, it only deepened the sense that Spain was cursed. And in truth, it was not by witches, but by blood. When Carlos II died in 1700, childless and broken, the Spanish Habsburg dynasty died with him. The crown passed to Philip of Anjou, grandson of Louis XIV of France, igniting the War of the Spanish Succession, a conflict that would redraw the map of Europe. The empire that Maria Anna had fought to preserve was gone, replaced by Bourbon rule. And so, Maria Anna's legacy is forever entwined with tragedy. She was not wicked, nor cruel, but a woman trapped in the machinery